What's up? My name's Glueboy, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a video. Hopefully that sounds better. But a lot of you seem to really like the Raven Guard, which is something I'm delighted to see. As a Raven Guard fan myself, in fact, I'm actually making my half of the Leviathan box just the Space Marines. I don't play Xenos factions, only Imperium for me. And I'm turning them into Raven Guard. I got a bunch of custom beak helmets, it's great. And if y'all want more Raven Guard content, we gotta talk about the main Raven himself. It's not Corvus Corax. We gotta talk about the guy that's actually present in 40k. Sadly, Corvus is not back. I pray every night that he does return, because currently he's just a big shadow murder cloud of ravens and knives. That sounds sick. I want to see that on a model. But today we're going to be talking about Kayvaan Shrike, the chapter master of the Raven Guard, and honestly, one of the coolest guys. Like, one of the few characters you could probably pin as like a good guy in 40k. Dude's dope. But anyways, his actual history. So, Kayvaan Shrike was born on the planet of Kayvaan, which is actually the homeworld of the Raven Guards. Way back in the day, Corvus Corax landed on the moon of Kayvaan and was born into a really shitty planet that was controlled by big capitalists, where by being born you were put into debt that you would have to pay off eternally, and he liberated everybody. Renamed the moon to Deliverance, which is where the current HQ of the Raven Guard are, and then Kayvaan, the Forge World that is right below it. And Kayvaan fared a little worse, mainly in the fact that Corvus Corax, to liberate the planet and the moon, nuked it a lot. So there's some pretty big chunks of Kayvaan that are completely uninhabitable because of nuclear fallout. You know, things you gotta do. But right now, Kayvaan is a Forge World. They build a lot of this shit for the Raven Guard. And also just, that's where a lot of people come from. That's where they recruit from. And little Kayvaan, not his name at this point. Space Marines change their name after they become Space Marines. Most of them at least. Kayvaan was a ganger. He worked as a runner for the gangs, and his story would start on a job that seemed to go wrong because he was being hunted by a rival gang. He was in their territory, they were rushing after him, and he escaped their pursuit. He ran away, killing a good few of them in his escape, and he ran for like a couple days. Eventually, they captured him, tortured him, tried to get some information on the rival gang that he was a part of. He refused and broke out again and killed more of the gangers. Honestly, pretty cool guy, and he was just a teenager for doing all this, just a badass from birth. And this wouldn't be unnoticed because Raven Guard were watching him. Of course, completely unseen, because Raven Guard are the masters of stealth for the Space Marines, and when he was honestly not doing great, might have gotten caught, probably gonna get killed, some Raven Guard chaplains descended down and were like, "Hey kid, welcome to the club. You're a Space Marine now." And Kayvaan was like, "No." Like, well, the decision's already been made. And they took him. They just stole him from Kayvaan, took him up to Deliverance, and Kayvaan would refuse for a bit. He wouldn't listen. He wouldn't give in until eventually he's like, fucking whatever. And realized the gig of being a Space Marine, not the worst thing, to where he then changed his name to Kayvaan Shrike. Kayvaan, which is a name that relates to some very important part of his past that he refuses to talk about. He doesn't want to talk about it at all. And then Shrike, because bird. Raven Guard like birds. A key part of their recruitment, like training, is they have to catch a bird. They have a theme. And it wouldn't be long for Kayvaan to make a name for himself, because Kayvaan got himself to become captain of 3rd Company, which did pretty well. And he really subscribed himself to notoriety in a really positive way during Walk's Skullcrack, which the Raven Guard would intercede on in the Targus system. And Kayvaan was dealt with the task of destroying the orbital defenses of Targus 8, where a bunch of orcs placed a bunch of giant anti-air cannons. Big deal, they need to get on that planet. They descend down, they do some serious work. They fuck up the cannons, they're waiting for their exfil, and the Thunderhawk gets blown up in orbit. They are stranded on Targus 8, because they can't get back down. They can't get saved. So, just to make the best out of the situation, Kayvaan led his men on a 3-year-long guerrilla war against the orcs. They would hide in the hive cities, strike out, fuck up the orcs, and then disappear to the point where they were basically untouchable. They didn't lose anybody, they just did perfect guerrilla war, they worked with the remaining civilians, because there were a few that were still alive, and fucked up the orcs so much that the projected, like, winning of the war was, like, some decades off. They won it in a couple years. Big deal. They weakened everything for the actual Raven Guard force and the Imperial Guard to descend down and finish the job. And this act would cement Kayvaan as this, like, hero to the people, especially a hero for orcs. He did a lot of civilian relief during this, like, attack, and made sure that the human population were actually saved. And this is something he would keep doing, because orcs attack a lot of planets. And a lot of times when orcs get real embedded in your shit, you're best to just leave. So a lot of times the military of these planets just dips. They're like, we'll cut our losses. What's a billion human lives? Pfft, we can get more of that in a couple minutes. So Kayvaan would find planets that were on that brink, and he would go save them. He'd save the people who had nothing else to, like, save them from. He was a good dude, and this would enshrine him as this hero, a person that the Imperial citizens would pray to the Emperor to send, the angel to save them from the orcs that were invading. Pretty cool dude, and even more. Just accelerating on the timeline a little here, Kayvaan is just so nice like this, because another thing he makes sure to do is he makes sure chapter rivalries don't get in the fucking way, because Space Marines, really prideful. They got a massive ego, their pride and honor is like the most important thing, and so they argue about it. And chapter rivalries mean a lot. For example, the White Scars and the Raven Guard got some beef, mainly because you have a faction of super fast, like blitzkrieg hit and run guys, and then super fast blitzkrieg hit and run stealth guys. They both have the same general tactic, but they go about it a little differently. And so they got beef. Kayvaan Shrike is on all right terms with the main leader of the White Scars at this current point, Corsaro Khan. They speak to each other. They'll fight. They're not like best bros. But when things actually go down, they put aside their, like, rivalry and their grudges, and, like, we're just gonna get the fucking job done, because that's what's important here. He also interceded on a feud between the Iron Hands and the Imperial Fists over this artifact called the Brimstone Heart. They were both fighting over it and actually gonna fuck up the mission and fuck up a lot of human lives in the area. So as, like, the two main dudes in that story, I forget exactly who they are, main two dudes are fighting over the Brimstone Heart. Kayvaan sneaks into the room, takes it, and destroys it. Just gets rid of the MacGuffin that's making them fight, so then they'll actually turn and deal with the actual enemy that's at the gates. And then we get to the other point. Kayvaan Shrike would soon become chapter master of the Raven Guard, because the existing chapter master got murdered. They were fighting the Tau in a really early engagement with the Tau, where Commander Shadowsun out-stealthed the Raven Guard, who is being led by the current chapter master, and fucking killed him. He was dead. This was a massive blow, a really big hit that just popped out of nowhere to the Raven Guard. And Kayvaan Shrike, being the peak improvisational badass that he is, you put him in an awful situation, he will turn it around. He did so. He led his men on a counterattack against the Tau that was so strong they had to retreat. Shadowsun had to pull out with a lot of other people, which gave the Raven Guard an opening to kind of redeploy, reset up, and as well, he then would lead a stealth mission to go retrieve the gene seed of the fallen Raven Guard in that battle, in a very precarious situation, because the Tau were still active. He actually led this so well. They faced like next to no casualties and recovered basically all the gene seed, which is really important because the Raven Guard are one of the smallest Space Marine chapters, because in Isstvan 5, they got fucked really bad. They bore the brunt of the casualties for that fight, and they had very little men left. And so losing that gene seed means that they're at an even worse disadvantage. A cool deed, a deed that would then promote him to chapter master, because after that, everyone, all the Raven Guard, being the Raven Guard, I love them, but sometimes they're very melodramatic. they were all, oh, we can't take his place. He's the best chapter master we ever had. Except for the fact he fucking failed stealth. He got out stealthed. I don't know. And Kayvaan was the guy who did a lot of shit, turned things around, and led when shit went bad. So everybody just unanimously elected, yeah, Kayvaan Shrike, you're the new chapter master. And he was not happy about this, because Kayvaan was a real big fan of Third Company. He liked Third Company, he doesn't like the responsibility, he doesn't want the promotion, because all he wants is to go around and save people from orcs. That's all he wants. And so now that he's chapter master, he has like things to do and responsibilities that he doesn't believe he's worthy of. Which leads us to current day Kayvaan. Kayvaan is now Primaris Marine, he crossed Rubicon, and now he's on a little secret mission. Because Gilman's back, Dominus Era and all that, he sent out the Space Marines with more recruits finally, they had more men, to go lead some more battles. Kayvaan gave the main companies a lot of different missions in different parts of the galaxy, with a secret part on top. Kayvaan Shrike's plan is to send them out to do these missions, and hoping one of them will prove themselves so well. They'll do some dope-ass move, they'll turn the tides in a ridiculous show of force, they'll be so impressive and so worthy of the promotion, he can hand them the role of chapter master, and he can just slink on back to Third Company, where he's happy to be, and just live out the rest of his days fighting orcs. And I think there's something you could say about this, because there's an adage I believe in, at least, is that the person who is most worthy of power is the person who doesn't want it in the first place. And as such, Kayvaan approaches a lot of these situations with a lot of tact, a lot of humility, and a lot of kindness, which is surprising for a Space Marine, since they're all holier than thou, honor-bound, egotistical assholes. And yeah, Kayvaan's pretty fucking dope. His model's sick. I think helmeted is probably the best option, or if you can find your own helmet, because this emo cut, not fully for me. It's like Kayvaan and Azrael, I think, are some of the dopest chapter masters that the Space Marines have. But anyways, hope you like this for the like 3 Raven Guard fans that are in my comments. I see ya. I respect it. But anyways, that's gonna be it for me. If you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff. Join my membership, and see ya.